So, tell me about yourself. So, I was in the Marines for about 4 years. I left to boot camp right after high school. And actually, going to the military wasn't my first route, but I did this in order to help my parents gain their residency in order to stay here in the States. So, due to the circumstances, I ended up switching my plans and ended up going into the military. When I was in the military, I actually deployed for overseas to the Middle East for about a year, and then continued my career in Garrison, which was back in the States, till 2023. Once I got out, I then still continued going to school and pursuing my career in cybersecurity and gaining more certifications like Sec Plus, A Plus, and Net Plus at the moment. Um, the position that I'm applying to right now is called the American Airlines Analyst job, and basically what that persists of is day-to-day tasks like troubleshooting computers, being able to detect any viruses or any issue that a computer may be having, and at the same time dealing with a high level of stress situation. Since it is an airport, I do assume that the stress levels to be a little bit higher than in a normal job. Knowing the requirements of this job and industry, tell me your experience and any applicable achievements. So, like I stated before, I was in the Marines for about 4 years, and during that time, it would consist of me troubleshooting computers, re-imaging computers, changing any parts that needed to be changed in the computer, whether that's hardware or software related. Um, at the same time, also answering phone calls and dealing with customers, whether that's civilians or higher ups, and knowing how to de-escalate the situation at the same time without anyone getting upset. So, what experience or knowledge do you have that would help you in this job or industry? A big thing is definitely customer service. So, in the military, I had to deal every day with not just higher ups, not just subordinates, but I had to deal with all the ranks from the lowest of ranks to maybe a four-star general and having to fix their computer. So being able to maintain a calm and steady mind while still working next to one of the most powerful people next to you, and still being able to do your job properly, I think is a very important thing to do. But at the same time, being able to detect an issue, such as when like the internet's down, or whether if it's even the internet, or if it's an issue with the router or the switch, or if it's an internal issue with the computer as well. So being able to detect those issues helps me be able to figure out the situation even faster. What accomplishments are you most proud of? So the accomplishment that I'm most proud of is actually an accomplishment that I did in the Marines, and it was actually setting up a network and domain system for WTI. And what WTI is it's a 2 month field exercise where higher ups, like officers that are pilots, they go out doing flying missions or convoys, and throughout this whole time, the key part of this is making sure that they can maintain communication with the people back in garrison, which are back on base. And the reason why this is my biggest accomplishment was because I had only done this one time beforehand, and that was when I was first introduced into my first new unit. And at the time, I was only observing and not really configuring or being really hands-on at the situation. So whenever this situation confronted me, my higher ups came up to me and told me that I had less than a week to configure both the field side and the base side, so that way all the officers and all the other Marines can continue on with the convoys before WTI began. And at this point, I'm very overwhelmed because it's very last minute, and at this point I'm just trying to think where to even begin. And since at the time I was in Yuma, and Yuma is a fairly small base, and I'm an instructor as well, this helped me network around and meet a lot of people and stay in contact with a lot of Marines and higher ups. So as soon as I got the situation, as soon as I got word of what the situation was, I immediately started contacting my fellow subordinates, Marines that were in similar MOSs and similar jobs as me, that could assist me in the situation. And luckily they had more experience than I did, and they were able to help me. So I reached out to Corporal Bustos and Corporal Jang at the time to help me out. And so what we ended up doing was we ended up getting in contact with all the units that were in charge of releasing all the green gear equipment that we would use to set up. And we went to them first and we gathered all the equipment, which was just a SISM, which is just a router and a switch combined together. We had two CMs with two computer modules, which we used to program the SISMs, the green gears. And then we had some standalone laptops that we dispersed around the field, that we gave to higher ups in order to use to answer emails, go on meetings, and do what they needed to do. And the way that we did this is that I took the load of configuring and installing all the green gear on the field side, and then Corporal Jang and Corporal Bustos were in charge of configuring the side on the base side. And so this helped me um, cut the time in half, and not be in such a rush to do this. So yeah, so by the end of it all, um, my higher ups were actually very pleased with the outcome of this, because they didn't expect me to be able to solve the situation so quickly. They were actually expecting me to be behind a few days, since I was so new to it at the time. But since I was able to adapt under the stress, and put my skills to use, and actually reach out and use my Marines for support and to help me out, this later on helped me to actually get promoted to corporal, and then further on, like I said, in my career in the Marines. What is your ideal work environment? My ideal work environment would be a place where camaraderie is a thing, where where it's a bond between one another, between people, and I think that's something that I really value a lot, especially after being in the Marines. Marines bounce a lot around from unit to unit. From there maybe there for maybe a year, and then you end up going to a new place, which was what ended up happening to me, is that I bounced around a lot during my military career, which was I was in about 5 different units, and if you ask any veteran, that's a lot of units to be within, and not a lot of time to spend with a lot of friends that you meet there. So definitely a work environment where I can make friends. Definitely a work environment where there's that camaraderie, that bond, that trust, that I can come up to a higher up at the company, and I can ask them questions, whether it's pertaining to the job or not, but still having that transparency and that open communication between your subordinates and your higher ups. What are your strengths? My strengths, I would say, is that I am very goal oriented, and I tend to put goals in the future, so that way I have something to look forward to or something to work towards. For example, this past December, I actually ran a marathon, and I had it on my calendar for months in advance, since maybe August. And when the time came to start training for the marathon, I had to manage my time with not only incorporating my 2 runs a week for my marathon training, but also incorporating the classes that I was taking, work included, and at the same time I was still strength training, so I was still going to the gym. So I had to find a way to manage all my day-to-day tasks and still be able to incorporate my training regimen for the marathon. And and like I said, I did that for about 4 months, and being disciplined with my meal plans as well, with the macros that I was eating, and when I would run, and the time management. And so yeah, so being able to to do that. So being able, so um, having those time management skills and having the discipline to stick to my meal plan and to my training regimen really helped me achieve the goal of running a marathon. And it's just it's one of those things that I use to help me boost myself forward after finishing that marathon. It's a big accomplishment, so it's something that I can be proud of and look back on during tough times, or times where I think, you know, I can't do something. I can be like, no, wait, I ran a marathon, and like I have discipline. I love challenges, and I'm good at managing my time. But what is your greatest weakness? My greatest weakness is the fact that I sometimes have an issue of reading the room, and that's more so because of the military as well. In the military, we were all used to horsing around and, you know, trying to make fun and create fun wherever we could, because, you know, we're always in high stress situation, or we're always working, and so any moment that we could enjoy and have fun with, then, you know, we would take advantage of that. And we would do that by cracking jokes, you know, maybe like some minor pranks, but simply just getting to know each other. Um, like getting to know each other is very important to me, because, like I said, I love, I love laughing, but I also love making other people laugh. So sometimes, like I said, you know, I can sometimes prioritize being the class clown, and not necessarily read the room when something serious is going on, or I might say something out of context, not knowing that I may offend someone. Do you prefer to work alone or in teams? I think for sure it's for sure going to be teams. Just after my experience in the military, and after all the fundamentals and all the principles that that they instilled in me, it's very certain that I rather prefer to work in teams rather than alone. Um, just because, one, it's more time efficient. You're able to knock out a large amount of work in a shorter amount of period, and at the same time, even if I don't know who I'm working with, or if it's a new group completely, then it just gives me a new opportunity to meet new people and make new connections. um, but definitely the military made me appreciate having those fire teams, having those team builders, and really appreciating how to work with a team more efficiently. Um, if I had to work alone, I can, but that's really only in an instance where something needs to get done really fast, and I know that I can get it done in that short amount of time. Then I will take the responsibility to do that task alone. But besides that, I really don't have an issue, and I would actually prefer to work in teams. But besides that, I have no further questions to ask you guys. And I do appreciate you guys taking the time to review these screening interviews. Thank you.